show you guys how to cut this circle dress. So basically I'm going to be using about 6 yards of fabric. I just brought out this fabric now and opened it up. You see, it still has the tag on the other side. So this is 6 yards of Ankara fabric is what I'm going to, I'm not sure I will use the whole thing, but I'm going to be using this here. So guys, first I'm going to put in a link on how to cut the bottom of this skirt in case you don't get it in this video. The bottom part of this dress is just a circle skirt, but you know it's an Ankara fabric. How to cut a circle Ankara fabric with a full length, and then also you can, that particular video has a pocket and it's just a 7 minutes video. So I'm going to link it somewhere here so that you can click it and see in detail how to put in a pocket and make this bottom part. So guys, the length of my dress, which is my total length, my shoulder to my ankle, is 59 inches, right? So 59 is from my shoulder to my ankle minus my half length, which is 18. So the length of my skirt, which is the bottom part of my clothes, is going to be 41 inches. That's going to be length of the bottom part of my clothes. So now to calculate the width, how I'm going to get the circle, what I'm going to do now, it depends on you. There are 2 ways to do this. If you want a pocket and if you don't want a pocket. If you want a pocket, all you have to do is your waist measurement for me, which is 34 plus 2 inches, and then which is 36 divided by 3.14. I'm going to get about 11.4, or just approximate it to 11.5. This is what I'm going to use as my waist measurement, circumference, to calculate the waist. Then this is without pocket, but this 2 inches is just for each side of my zip, each side of my zipper allowance on the skirt, because this here is just my waist in total, right? My waist, round my waist circumference plus 2 inches for my zip, and then is 36 divided by 3.14, which is a constant for everybody. And then this one is with pockets now, with pocket. So with pocket, what I'm going to do is 34 again, plus this time around you can do like extra, because it's 2 sides of the pocket, right? And then 1 center back. So you can do extra 6 inches or extra 4 inches, because you need 2 inches coming together to give you the zipper at the back, 2 inches coming on this side to give you your zipper on your pocket on this side, 2 inches coming on this side for your pocket on this side. So in total is 2 inches, another 2 inches on the side, and then 1 inch to 2 inches for the zipper at the back. So in total that's going to be 6 inches, right? So you are going to make it about 42 or so. Guys, it's 40, I beg, I don't know math. So now you're going to divide it by 3.14, right? You're going to divide it by 3.14. Whatever you get now, this 40 inches plus 3.14 is going to be your waist circumference. So guys, what you're going to be using is 12.7. That's what you're going to get. I hope this is well calculated for you guys. So basically the first thing you're going to do is to measure yourself from your shoulder to your ankle, or wherever you want the length of the dress to be, maybe to the floor. You're going to subtract your shoulder to your half length from it, whatever you get. For me, that's 41. 41 is going to be the length of my dress. Now after that, you're going to calculate the waist. How you're going to calculate it: with pocket, you add 2 inches, divide it by 3.14. Whatever you get is the circumference. Without pocket, you add with pocket. Now you're going to add 6 inches. This is without is 2 inches, because the 2 inches for just the zip. With the pocket is 6 that you're going to add. Whatever you get, divide it again by 3.14, which is a constant. Whatever you get is the width of the skirt. So now let's go into cutting the fabric. So guys, now what you're going to do is that whatever you got for your waist, remember, like I said, mine is just for the zip, so it's going to be 11 what I got is 11.5, right? So that 11.5, I'm going to add it to the total length of my dress, which was 41 inches. The total length of the bottom part, which was, so guys, 11.5, which is my waist, plus 41, which is the length of the skirt part of my dress, and then I'm going to add plus 1.5. This 1.5 is half an inch, 1.5, which is half an inch for joining the waist of the body of the dress, and then 1 inch of folding the edge for the seam allowance. So in total what I have is 54 inches. So this 54, now I'm going to measure out 54. This is just a plain fabric like this, open like this. I'm going to just measure that 54 and fold it into 2, right? So I'm going to measure 54 folded into 2 now. So guys, you see now I've folded 54 into 2. Let me show you guys. So basically, if I place my tape here, and then straight it out this way. You see I have that 54, which is basically my what I got after dividing my waist measurement plus the length of my dress plus the seam allowance for sewing it, which is 1.5, 1 inch for folding the edge, half an inch for sewing the waist. So that's why I added 1.5, which gave me 54, which is the total length I have here, 54 inches folded into two. So guys, after folding it now, what I'm going to do is to turn it around and fold it again this way. This will help you cut the circle better. So fold it again this way, right? Take the folded part, fold it away. Now you have this edge here. But you will notice, since this is Akara, you have some part that doesn't meet up because of the length, right? One is going to meet up, but one will not meet up because Akara is cut by 45. So I still need to go back in and complete this part, right? So now let's cut our circle. I'm going to turn it around. So guys, the first measurement I'm going to insert on this here, if this doesn't make sense to you guys, just come down and click on the video that I said where I explained circle skirt. It's just a 7 minutes video, but you will have a full range of everything in it, because I'm trying my best to explain it here, but I know somebody might still complain and say I didn't explain it well. So guys, just please, this video is just the skirt alone that you will see there. So you will see how to join it, how to make a full circle skirt with just 45 inches of Akara fabric. So now the first measurement I'm going to insert here is just my the waist. The measurement I got when I divided that waist, right? The one I'm using, 11.5. So I'm going to place my tape at this edge now and mark 11.5 all the way. Put it here, 11.5 like this. From this distance to 11.5 all the way like this. So guys, you see I've marked it, that first measurement I got from my waist, which is 11.5 all the way. I've placed it here all the way like this. You see? So now the next measurement we are going to insert now is the full length, which is 54. Right? So we're going to go ahead now and mark that 54 wherever it is on this tape. I'm going to stretch it out and mark 54 all the way around to the end. So guys, this is the top part, you see, like I said before, and then this is the second side. You see, like I said, one side of this will not fit into the circle. So now I'm going to take my fabric and cut out something like this now to complete the length of this upper one to 54. So I'm going to cut this part of the skirt out now. So guys, you see I've cut out this upper part. I'm going to toss this out now, and then this is the lower part. I've also cut it out. So all I have to do is just to take my fabric, fold it into two so that I can sew it down to this part here to complete this circle, and then trim off the excess and make sure that it's a full circle now. So guys, this is it here. You see what I attached here. So like I made sure to put it on a fold because this is going to be the center of my skirt. So I made sure that I still have that fold here. You see, this is the center here. So and then I cut this one, but making sure that I have half an inch. When I placed it on top of it, I just made sure to place it half an inch on top of it, so I know that I'm using that half an inch to sew the two of them together. And then I just use my hand to press it down and just mark it on a chalk wherever I feel the bump of this fabric underneath it, and then I cut off the excess. So now I'm just going to go to the sewing machine, open this up like this, and then notch it at the center and sew it down this way, all the way down, and then this one all the way down like this, so that when I pull it down, my skirt length is complete. So now let's move over to the top. Here, so sorry I cut the top behind the camera, but I just wanted to cut it so I can save time. So basically all I did here is just a basic bodice, guys. That's it, just your normal basic bodice pattern with the center zipper allowance. Guys, if you want, there are two ways to do this here. So mine is going to have a zip on one side. You know that side that is attached to the skirt? Mine is going to have a zip on that side under the armhole going towards the skirt, right? But if you want, you can make yours a zipper at the back of your skirt and then a zipper at the top of your at the top bodice, and then just make sure that the zipper you're using at the top, if you don't want to use a side zip because some people might find it discomforting, just make sure that that zip is the type that can be separated so that you can be able to open up the bodice entirely and then close it back up like a jacket at the back, right? But it depends on you. So for me, I'm going to show you guys the method I'm using for my own. So basically, I just cut out my basic bodice pattern. My shoulder measurement, since it's a sleeveless, my shoulder measurement is supposed to be 16, but I subtracted 1 from it. I used 7. Mark my armhole divided by 2. Came down here 1 inch. Mark my armhole divided by 2. Insert my bust measurement divided by 4. plus 1 inch of sewing allowance, and then the same thing on my waist divided by 4 plus 2 inches, 1 inch of darting, 1 inch of side seam. And then the back, you see, is not even up to 1 inch of zipper allowance because I just did this for the back. You can cut yours the same, right? You can cut yours the same as the front panel, just make the two of them the same width. But this space here is just to help me turn it around because I'm going to use a lining to turn it over with all the sleeve and everything because I don't want to use bias. I just want to use lining to turn everything over once. But I can't turn it over that way if the two of them are the same, like if the two of them are cut exactly without any zipper allowance. So I want one of them to be split open, but this split here, I'm still going to close it up because the neckline at the back, I'm just going to insert like a button at the top, like leaving 5 inches open just so that my head can fit in, and then I'm going to put in a button there. But my main zipper to wear this clothes is going to come towards the side. So now you see I have my lining all over, you see. So all I have to do now is to separate it here. Go ahead, remember how we mark our dart here, your nipple to nipple divided by 2 for me, which is 4 plus like half an inch. Insert a dart here 1 inch before my bust point. My bust point is at 12, so my dart is going to stop coming down from the shoulder at 13. So I'm going to put a dart here. The same thing for the back. I'm going to do the same thing here, and then we are going to come back. I'm going to show you guys how I join it to the lining. You see everything has lining here. You see the back has 2 lining because it's a 2-piece at the back and then 1 on a fold in front. So let me go ahead now and join it to everything, and then I'll bring it back and show you guys how I did it. Guys, you see I've gone ahead and ironed it down now. You see everything is looking clean. So now the next thing we have to do is just to bring this part together and place everything to be equal, right? Just make sure that you put it the way you're supposed to place it, and then you're going to decide the side you want your split, the part you want to be attached to the skirt and the part you want the curve to be, right? So let me get the skirt part so that we can. So guys, this is what I'm going to do now. I think I'm going to do the left, my left side, which is this here, is going to be the part with the part that will attach to the skirt. That means this is the part that will come with the zip. Okay. So guys, this zip here is going to fit into this side. You see that might seem the zipper allowance that I had is going to be to the side. Remember I just did 2 inches, so the zip is going to fall into this armhole to this side like this, right? It's going to fit in this way, and then this side is going to be the side where I cut off a little bit like this, and then I'm going to use bias to run this and join it to the body. So now let me decide how much of this I want to cut out. It depends on you guys. If you look at her own, you will notice that a little bit of her under bust was showing. Guys, I don't want my under bust to show at all. So what I'm going to do now is to measure from my shoulder. Remember, when you're marking your bodice, my shoulder to waist is 18, right? My total shoulder to waist is 18, but I added 1 inch when I was cutting my bodice, when I was cutting out this bodice, because I needed half an inch to join the shoulder. So I still have an inch to join these bottom parts, right? That's the length I use. So I'm going to place my tape at this point here and measure out. Let me move this so you guys can see. I measure out where I want you see what I have here is 18.5, which is the extra half an inch for the bottom part, because I've used up the one for the top part now because the top is done. So what I'm going to do now is my under bust is at my under bust is 16 inches. So I think I'm going to just do 17, so that when I take away half an inch of sewing, I'll be left with 16.5. That's 0.5 under my under bust. So it depends on you, whatever your under bust is, right? Cut it off at least 1 inch below your under bust, right? So you're going to place your tape at your shoulder, measure your shoulder to your under bust, whatever it is, do 1 inch below that, so that you can use half an inch to sew the edge close, and then the other half an inch will be like the seam that will be under your bust. You understand? So now what I'm going to do, so I'm going to be working with 17. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark 17 inches on this side. Sorry, I'm going to mark where that 17 falls in. So somewhere here. So I'm taking away about approximately 1.5 here. So mark it, and then you're going to curve it into this side. You see her own on the other side, it stops at least before the dart. It stops after the dart, a little after the dart. But guys, I'm more on the bigger bust side, right? A smaller bust person can get away with making theirs shorter, but I don't want mine to be that exposed. If you want yours exactly like her own, you're going to cross over this line. Guys, you're going to cross over this line a little bit after your dart. right? Because remember, this side is still going to sew in 1 inch of seam allowance that is going to be sewn in like this, going in with our zipper on this side, right? It's still going to go into the seam. So let's say it's going to be, this is where my dart is, so it's going to be at least 1 inch after my dart, but I'm going to make mine to stop even before I get to the dart. So I'm going to cut it off somewhere here and blend it into this side, right? So now I'm going to cut off this side. So guys, now I've cut it off. I'm going to take it out. So you see, it's now looking this way. So what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and mark where mine is supposed to stop. If I go to attach it at to this now, I'm going to mark it. So it's going to stop somewhere at my dart. So all I have to do now is I'm going to take this now from the inside out, like from one side now. I'm going to try to sew this in, right? I'm going to turn it around like this and sew close the edge of this lining, but I'm going to stop wherever this my dart is where I'm going to stop. So I'm going to sew this close and then flip it inside out. I'm going to do the same thing at the back, just to cover the edge of the lining so it will look exactly like the sides, right? So for the back, what I'm going to do is just to turn it around this way and sew it close. Once I sew it close, if I flip it in, this part has been folded. I'm going to do it, but except for the side where it's going to be joining the skirt, right? The part where it's going to be joining the skirt, that 1/2 inch, I'm going to leave it because it's going to be joined to this, and that is exactly at the point where my dart is, right? So all my seams, even for this one at the back, I'm going to sew it in, but I'm going to stop at the dart and then leave that 1/2 inch to be open frill like this, because I'm going to take it now and sew it down to the skirt before I use bias to run it. So guys, all I did is to make sure that I notch the side of this skirt and then the center. So this is the side with the zipper, right? What I did is just to fold it equally and make sure that I found the center, marked it. So this is the other side, and then make sure I notch this part and know that this is the center. So now all I have to do is just to take this and place it like this, and then make sure that when you measure it, that you have exactly your waist measurement plus the seam allowance you need. Because if it's more than that, when you go to sew this, because what I'm going to do, you see, like I said, I stopped exactly at my dart. You see, I stopped exactly where my dart is. You see, and then if I flip it in now, I have this seam allowance to use to complete it, but the rest is sewn down. I just need to iron it, but every other side is sewn, and then I just sew this part close. I just have to hem the edge so that it will lay flat and iron it. So this side is done now. It's just the side that is going to be fixed into the skirt. So all I have to do is just to take it this way and just join it. So you can take it, open it up like this, and then take this side of it and sew it down, just knowing fully well that you have your 1 inch of seam allowance for the zipper, and then on the top you have that 1 inch of side seam that you use, just like how you have this side seam on the other side of this. You see how we have this side seam here? That's the seam we are trying to use on this side. This side seam, I hope you guys can see. This side seam is what we are trying to use here. So I'm going to just take it at the edge of the skirt, and there's 2 of it here. So two sides of it. I'm going to sew this one on the one in front, and then the back panel is also going to be attached like this. You see, there's also 1/2 inch at the edge. The 1/2 inch I was supposed to use to, if I decided to sew it close and complete it to the end. But remember, we stopped at the dart in front and they stopped at the dart at the back. So bring out that 1/2 inch again and use it to sew it at the edge. Remember, starting from the edge like this, sew it down for the back. So you see, 1 in back, 1 for the front. Sew it down, and then we'll come back and use bias. I'm going to use bias to sew it now, cover the edge of the waist of my skirt. That's why you have to make sure that once you take away that 2 inches from the waist of your skirt, that's 1 inch on this side, 1 inch on this side. What you're going to be left with is exactly your waist, because once you join this bodice to this skirt now, you can't, once I join the bodice here and put in my zip, if it's loose here, it will be slacking down on one side. So you need to make sure that it's your waist exactly. If you feel like it's even a little bit bigger, the skirt is a little bit bigger, bring in your bodice on top a little bit in. Maybe skip 1/2 inch at the edge here and bring it a little bit in, because you want it to be tight. You want it to hold your waist because there's no band here. And remember, when you use bias to fold in, bias is going to bring, because the lower you go on this fabric, the wider the space becomes, right? So when we use bias to fold this in now, the waist is going to expand maybe by 1/2 inch or so, because we are taking that bias to fold it in. So now the waist we are going to use is no longer this particular one, is now the next layer of this, like 1/2 inch lower. So that half an inch lower means at least half an inch wider at the waist. So maybe bring yours in a little bit on this side before you start to sew in your top on it, and then we're going to use our bias to complete everything. So I'm going to do that, then put in my zip and show you guys what mine looks like. Here I've gone ahead and joined it, so let me show you guys what I did. So basically, like I said, you're going to take that, you see where my darts for my bust on this side ended, that's where the sewing of this side ended to, like the folding in, and then I sewed it into the body of this clothes, and then use bias to hide all that seam. So if you look on the inside, you see I use bias to just sew everything down. This is what this side looks like. You see the waist of the skirt, I just use bias to line it in, folding it in. But guys, you can even use lining and just fold it in. Just make sure that you just sew it down a little so that it doesn't pull up as you're wearing it. But I find that this bias is okay, it's just stable enough to hold this down. So after that, the back of the neckline, what I did is just to join the seam. You see this seam here, I just joined the two back panels together. And then this is why I needed the back to be this way, because at the top of this back here, what I did was just to sew this seam at the center. I sewed one facing towards this way, one facing this other direction, and then I used it to put in a button here. You see my center seam at the back, you see it here. But coming up to this point, I just sewed it up a little bit and then left about 5 inches open, and then flipped it to both sides, sewed it this way up, and then I made like a loop here, and then use this here to sew down on this fabric, and then put a button on one other side. So this is the back. Let me show you guys so you see. So guys, you see the back here. So all I have to do is just to take the button, put it inside the loop here, and then this is basically what the back would look like, just so my head can fit in these other parts here. As long as this zip is open, you can be able to wear it perfectly. And this is what it looks like here. Guys, I hope you understood everything I said. So you see where I put in my zip under the armhole, and then this seam on this side is still the same. I just have to hem it, and then this side, the waist, all you have to do is just join that remaining half an inch, like I said to you before, to the skirt part. And that's basically, just use your lining or your bias to just hem everything. You see what the waist of my skirt looks like, very neat. So that's basically, thank you guys so much for watching. Please guys, subscribe to the channel to support the channel, and leave a comment, and I'll see you in my next one. Thank you so much for your time, and bye.